Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone getting on this week? I am going to talk today about one of the hottest themes that I am seeing right now across all my communities, and that is imposter syndrome. When I say imposter syndrome, what comes up for you? I'm really curious. When I say the phrase imposter syndrome, what comes up for you? I'm going to let you in on a key question that I ask my VIP clients when they're facing imposter syndrome or when they're feeling like a fraud. And this question can unlock the other possibility or the other possible ways to get through this fear, this really common fear, and move into more confidence in your coaching and what you have to offer. So if you ever feel like a fraud, like an imposter, let me know and really, really pay attention because I have seen this really flaring up lately for a lot of people. So let's dive in. Imposter syndrome is a term that has been used in the coaching and counseling world to identify a feeling of lack that comes up when you are attempting something new. When you're going into business for yourself or putting yourself out into the world, doing something new that would mean more visibility on you, your creation, your expertise, or your message. It's a feeling that comes up for a lot of health coaches, and by definition, probably has to. It drives so many health coaches into chasing numerous certifications. Going back to school just one more time for one more certification, maybe a degree, maybe a diploma. It sees health coaches, wellness entrepreneurs postponing their business. And I see people all the time putting off working with clients, actually getting the experience by working with clients, because they are waiting for this feeling of imposter, this feeling of fraud to go away. It's actually a feeling and an energy that I address directly with all of my clients as soon as it comes up. And here's why. There is only one person who has the power to change the story that is fueling this cycle, fueling this stuck pattern. And there's only one person who can tell a new story, and it's you. You can read all kinds of affirmations, you can be giving all kinds of compliments from others. But if imposter syndrome is the energy and the belief that you are bringing into what you do as a health coach, that's the story that you are going to continue to buy into and continue to be in cycle on, if not intervened with coaching. So I like to take a slightly different approach then to what you might have seen out there. Instead of asking you to immediately challenge those beliefs, there's a key question I ask that I'm going to share with you today. So write this one down. And if anybody is here, give me a wave in the chat box. I'd like to know, is imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud, something that you either have in the past or currently experiencing? You're going to want pen and paper. This question might challenge you, but this is the question that I give to my Upswing Mastermind and my VIP clients. And it is this: how have you actually been benefiting from imposter syndrome? And you're like, oh, Amanda, don't be crazy. I'm not benefiting. It's holding me back. This is a serious question and one that I want you to explore. How have you been benefiting from imposter syndrome? How have you been benefiting by having the story, the belief, running the show that you're not enough, that you better go get other certifications, that you better go XYZ? It's a key question that you can ask yourself when you are feeling nervous about putting yourself out there. When you notice, oh, right now I'm feeling worried that I'm not qualified enough. Right now, oh, maybe I better go get a certification. Maybe it's a good question to ask when you start comparing yourself to other coaches and when you think that you need to study more, learn more, become more of an expert, lose more weight first, improve your health first. All of these things you have to do first before you are good enough, expert enough to start working with clients. You can ask this question when you get shy, when you go to write your own bio or start talking yourself up because you're afraid that you're going to look silly, that you won't be believed, or maybe that you don't even believe yourself yet on your amazing skills as a coach. If any of those things is coming up for you or has come up for you, ask yourself, what benefit do I get out of having imposter syndrome in my life? Jessica's here. She's saying, yes, I worry about this. It comes and goes. And Catherine's saying, it keeps me safe is a benefit. That is likely benefit, Catherine. Yeah, really, really good. Kelly's saying, yes, imposter syndrome is so real. So glad I finally joined Upswing Mastermind, taking great strides already and overcoming so many mindset blocks. Absolutely, Kelly. Us and everyone in our new mastermind doing so amazingly. And so these are the kind of questions that we want to look at. What am I getting out of it? And safety is often a key one. It can be a confronting question. And I urge you, if you're serious about getting your work out, to actually take time to journal on this for at least 10 minutes today. Not just first thought that comes to you. Go deep. How am I benefiting from sitting in the energy of imposter syndrome? It can be a confronting question because our initial reaction is probably just to shake it off, shake our heads. Oh, what could you mean? I'm not benefiting from it. Or how could I be getting something out of it? That's terrible. I hate it. I don't want it. Almost like imposter syndrome, get it away from me, maybe pretending you don't have it. However, we all get something out of the stories that we hold on to. Otherwise, we wouldn't hold on to them. So maybe you didn't start the story, you didn't purposefully want the story of imposter syndrome. You might have learnt these beliefs as you grew up, as you went to school, maybe even as you started in business. You were taught certain things around success, who deserves what, who doesn't deserve what measures you must have in place to be an expert, all of these things. You may have even been on the receiving end of hurtful comments, judgments, feedback that didn't land well and didn't feel kind or well-intentioned. We're human. We've all been through these experiences. And so for all kinds of reasons, a story started to form. And these stories we create and hold on to because in a way they feel safe. In a way we feel we're protecting ourselves if we hold on to the story. So, and yeah, leave me any comments on any reflections on that. Do take time to really journal into it. Let me give you an example. So here's another example of how we use imposter syndrome to benefit ourselves. Protection. Protection is one of the biggest reasons we do it. So let's say if you've had really awful experiences with visibility, maybe standing in front of your class, giving a speech, having to share work that you put so much love and effort into, only to receive it back full of red pen marks or what your teacher didn't like about it. Or you've received harsh criticism, maybe from a coach or a parent or a caregiver or a colleague. Stories naturally form based on the experiences of our life. And if we have internalized these often awful or harsh experiences in our life around negative feedback, and we haven't been able to digest and process negative feedback in a healthy way, it would make sense now for our brain to go, whoa, hold on a minute, you're going to put yourself out there again? No, let's protect you. So in your mind and energy, now you build a wall, and that wall is called imposter syndrome. It's just such an easy one to grasp onto. So anytime you come close to being visible, again, being seen again, the imposter syndrome wall comes up and it says, remember what that was like? Go back. Don't do it. Don't do that to yourself. It's unsafe. It's risky. And we'll find ourselves just not getting around to putting ourselves out there, just not getting around to clarifying our message. I often see imposter syndrome getting in the way of people choosing a target market, convincing themselves that they're stuck and they can't choose a target market, which is actually like a 20-minute exercise when you have the right steps in place. But the almost inability to move forward is often coming from this imposter syndrome wall. If I hold on almost like to the blankie of being a beginner, then I will stay safe because I am an imposter and I couldn't move forward because people are going to see me, okay? This is just all myth. It's just all thinking that is not true. But if we keep using that wall to shield ourselves out of our comfort zone And to save ourselves from being vulnerable, save ourselves from being out there in business, then we're not going to be open to learning through experience. We're not going to be open to being the beginner we need to be. You can't become experienced without embracing, full out embracing being a beginner. You have to go through those steps. Then there's deep fears there, right? For instance, what if you're feeling confident, someone comes along and says something that knocks you off your feet? No one wants to feel that. So now that we see the imposter syndrome wall is based on protection, we can actually choose to create a different form of protection that is not a wall, okay? So we don't need to use imposter syndrome to save ourselves, to protect ourselves. Instead, think of it more like it's an energy that moves with you. So what are some other ways that you can protect yourself beside buying into the story of imposter syndrome? A little off topic for today, but those who work with me in Upswing know that a lot of this work is around the identity and how we see ourselves. So you may see the overlap here. If we decide that we're an imposter, that is an identity that we're putting on ourselves. That is not a confident 5K, 10K a month woman. That is going, I am a fraud. I am an imposter. It doesn't work. It's an energy. It's like you carry this on your back. So what are some healthier ways that we can protect ourselves without having to buy into that story? Because the story is unhealthy. The story is like picking up the Coca-Cola. It's just not healthy, guys. It's just not. And it's a food. It is literally something we choose to feed ourselves. So instead, some healthier practices for self-love, self-protection. You can learn to cultivate more inner self-love and more inner confidence. You can really internalize those beliefs through daily practices, affirmations. You can really believe people when they give you compliments. A lot of this is actually about receiving that it is safe, receiving that you are enough, receiving that doing this work you are passionate about and lit up by does not have to be hard and burning you out. All of this is linked. You can quit filtering compliments or whatever it is that people are saying, like how we push them back. And somehow we only hear the negative. Even in our own self-talk, are we able to receive the positive and not the negative? You can look at your own progress, your own incredible results, how far you've come in life, and celebrate yourself every day. You can really celebrate what you've done with clients, places that you've said yes to yourself, places that you've stepped forward. Recognize that there are people who are impressed by you, who come to work with you because you have a unique approach. There are people who watch your work that you put out there that value it every day. And just because they do not comment and leave you 100 likes, that doesn't mean that it's not valuable. It is valuable. Compliment yourself for showing up and for stepping forward and to listening to yourself. What if instead of creating the wall, the imposter syndrome wall, you cultivated an energy of self-love and confidence that allowed you to walk through the wall, allowed you to be visible, and had an incredible impact on the people that you came here to help? Because that is what it is really about. So let me know if this is resonating with anyone. Let me know what you think. I'll give you one more story, a second story that imposter syndrome feeds into. Sometimes we use it as self-motivation. Sometimes we actually beat ourselves up to try and motivate ourselves. So maybe anyone who's here might want to put up their hand if they can relate to this. We use often, I'm an imposter, I'm not good enough, I'm a fraud, as an engine to keep us running and keep us working hard. Because imposter syndrome tells us that we have to prove something, that we need to prove to others, we need to prove to my parents, I need to prove to my critics, I need to prove to my colleagues, I need to prove to myself. And when I was coaching in Upswing on this recently, this one in particular resonated. This feeling of that we should almost be whipping ourselves to work harder, to motivate, and that we use I'm not good enough as that motivation. The imposter syndrome feeds the belief What if nothing ever comes from this? What if I work so hard and put so much energy into this and nothing happens? It feeds it. Listen to my language. It feeds it. It's like giving sugar. It is literally an unhealthy addiction. The fear feels like motivation to you. You might look at what other people are doing, feel a little bit of jealousy. That jealousy becomes your fuel. And then you get addicted to the way I will motivate and fuel myself is through getting jealous. But here's the problem though, your motivation is to prove something. The problem is then that you're using the energy that's there, something to always prove, and you'll never fully arrive from that place. There'll always be something else, always someone else to compare yourself to, always another critical thought pattern or comment from someone that's going to prove that you are wrong. If you run on the motivation of I have to prove this is true or that this person is wrong, or you're always going to find that you're going to have to prove yourself and you're never really getting there. What if all of that energy and intention, that motivation was instead truly coming from your desire to help others? How do you think that might transform the transmission, literally, of the work that you're putting out to the world? Let alone your own energy system, from being in contraction to expansion and everything that does for your health. So what if instead of using imposter syndrome as the engine and the motivation to work hard, you chose to follow a different model? That one that inspires you, and you are inspired by your desire to help other people no matter what. I call it, instead of doing this, beating yourself up, we focus externally. It's a tilt. The desire is why you show up to do your work. The desire to be consistent, the desire to show up and do it day after day. The motivation comes from within you to help others, not from actually walls like imposter syndrome outside of yourself. You don't need jealousy. You don't need fear to inspire and motivate you. You're inspired because you know you came here to help, and you are worthy and you deserve the success that comes from this. It's a different kind of fuel. How does that land for you in your bodies? How is this resonating? Kelly's saying, oh yes, I can relate. Always trying to perfect whatever it is I'm working on. Yeah. And Catherine's saying, well, it's interesting. Very true. I'd never thought of that. Yeah. So these are the different frequencies, literally, that we choose to run our business on. So you can see the question, how am I benefiting from imposter syndrome? You can see why I'm encouraging you to do 10 minutes, if not half an hour of journaling on this. It's not a one quick question. It will help you arrive at a new understanding of how you are approaching your business, how you are acting as a businesswoman, as a coach. And I set you the challenge to do that exercise. Please let me know how it goes. Please come back and let me know any insights, any ahas. I hope that it is super helpful and healing for you. I'd love to know what comes up. And, have a think. Is there a way that imposter syndrome has been benefiting you? And what might you plan to do differently moving forward? I hope you all have a great day. It gives you some food for thought. This will catapult you forward if you do the work. So I can't wait to hear how that goes, and I will see you later.